I absolutely love how weird this action figure is, and the fact that it even got made. If you grew up in the 90s, you know exactly who this is. This is Pudgy Pig from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, like the very first seasons of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And through the Power Rangers Lightning collection line via Hasbro, Pudgy Pig was one of the final villains to make it before the line kind of got retired or put to bed on hiatus. I don't know what you call it, but this is a good way to go out if I've ever seen one. Let's back up a little bit though, because this is how it came packaged in this box right here. Now if this looks like a lunch pail, that's because it's supposed to. There's some fun nods to the Power Rangers in the back there, including the juice bar neon sign that was so iconic from the original series initial episodes. I know the packaging for this wasn't complete because when I found this at a Ross, it looked like it had been like stashed underneath something, and somebody found it, put it back on the shelves, and it was like on super clearance. I think I got this for like 10 bucks. And when I opened it up, I wasn't quite sure if every single accessory was in there. It seemed like it was, but again, I couldn't be sure, so I took a chance, I brought it home, and well, what did I find? Stay tuned to find out. I think that was long enough to wait, don't you? This was nearly complete. The only thing that was missing were the blast effects for the fork. That thing right there. Everything else, all of the small accessories were included, and the fact that this is just a giant pig's head with arms and legs means I could kind of tell that the figure itself was complete. We need to talk about the figure because the sculpting of this is so good. We're gonna get him really close to the camera, like uncomfortably close to the camera, because I want you to see all of the details in the skin. I want you to see the details for the hooves, as well as inside the mouth, because that's like the hardest part to see. It goes way back in there, and the fact that Pudgy Pig was eating Power Rangers in the episode means you could shove a Power Ranger limb in there and make it fairly screen accurate. He has the giant Roman gladiator or Spartan helmet, whatever you want to call it. It has a nice, smooth, metallic finish to it. And I really just can't say enough about how well this is sculpted and how much care and attention to detail that the toy designers on this gave Pudgy Pig. Which, all things considered, when you are working with Power Rangers, that's exactly what you want to be doing. The villains are often the most visually interesting, visually unique, and just downright weird, which makes really good toy qualities in an action figure. It might seem like a simple figure, but it works extremely well. When you think of Pudgy Pig, if you were a kid in the 90s watching Power Rangers, this is exactly how you remember him. You know I got the helmet plume, you know I have the knife, I have the fork. What are some of the other accessories that came in the box, minus the blast effects? Let me show you those because everything else was included. I got a plate of nachos. I got a tiny little taco. There is a slice of blueberry pie. And there is the rest of a blueberry pie with a slice cut out of it that conveniently fits the piece that I have. And there are some alternate hand sculpts right here. This one is just kind of an open hand. And here we have a closed fist. While as sad as I am to see that the blast effect wasn't included, that really wasn't my main concern. For whatever reason, I always like the tiny, small details that just kind of add to the character, add to the world building around it. Just to show you how large of a cavity is inside this creature here, I have this Psycho Ranger for my display behind me, and I'm just going to shove a leg inside of his mouth so you can just see how far back it goes. And you can see, he basically eats the whole entire guy. And depending on how you pose him, you could have some pretty hilarious photos. So what are some of the things that I like about Pudgy Pig? I think I've already touched on one quite a bit already, and that is the design, that is the sculpt of the figure. And another thing that I really like about him is that he is a weighty figure. There is a lot of heft to him, he feels imposing, and there is a quality about him that looks like a good villain. I've had no issues posing this figure, all the joints work really well, I've swapped out the hands a few times, and overall it's a really well-constructed figure. One of the things I wish that could have changed about this figure is the top-heavy design. Now I know that a big giant pig face on some very skinny legs probably isn't going to lend itself well to balance, but they did the best job they could. However, the weight on this is still pretty hefty. And it doesn't help that this plume up here moves the center of balance just a little bit higher. And the other thing that I would have liked to seen done a little bit differently, and again, this is a very minor thing, would be the pinned knees. It's got the pinless elbows, but they're single jointed. It's just the double joint here at the knees have the pins. I don't think it overall detracts from the figure because there is so many wrinkles, so much texture going on here, but having that final piece of the puzzle in place would have been really nice. If you like really just weird action figures, Pudgy Pig is something that you definitely need to track down and find. If you don't really have any strong connection with Power Rangers, or you're not really big on just weird action figures, then you could probably give Pudgy Pig a safe pass. But because I definitely remember this era of Power Rangers as a kid, and because I just like weird action figures with even cooler accessories, means that I definitely like this figure, and that's just kind of one of the things that made me pick it up. And since I do have a few Power Rangers in my collection, I think it was overdue time to add to the villains, because the pumpkin wrapper, you know, he just couldn't be alone. That's it. That's my thoughts on Pudgy Pig. You let me know if you like Power Rangers villains, and if you do, what era Power Ranger villains are your favorite. So that's it for me, and for Pudgy Pig. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. And oh yeah, don't forget to follow, please.